Today, we embark on a rather deep comparative analysis of three distinct initiatic systems. We will examine the Sufi order of the Cerrahis, the fraternity of Freemasonry, and the Shia tradition of Ismailism. Now, on the surface, the question seems almost absurd. What common ground could there possibly be? We have a mystical order from the late Ottoman period, a European fraternity that traces its origins to stonemason guilds, and a branch of Shia Islam with a vast and complex metaphysical system. They emerge from entirely different centuries, vastly different cultures, and seemingly incompatible theological foundations. And yet, a profound connection exists. Uncovering this connection is the central task of our analysis today. You see, despite all of their profound ideological and historical differences, these three organizations are constructed upon a nearly identical foundation. There is a kind of shared architectural plan, what one might call an initiatic blueprint. This blueprint dictates their very structure, the manner in which one joins, and the path a member must follow to advance within the order.
The first pillar of this common blueprint is what we can call the gate of initiation. This is not a simple administrative procedure like joining a club. No, it is a profound, ritualized transformation. For each of these traditions, to enter the fold is to undergo a symbolic death of one's old self and to be reborn into an entirely new reality, a new identity, and a new community.
It is in the specifics that this parallel becomes truly striking. Observe how each tradition formalizes this rebirth. In the Cerrahis order, the candidate performs the biat, which involves taking the hand of the sheikh. This act symbolizes a spiritual birth into a sacred lineage. In Freemasonry, the tekris ritual requires the candidate to be blindfolded, a representation of their state of ignorance, before they're brought into the symbolic light of Masonic knowledge. And within Ismailism, one must take the misak, which is an absolute and binding oath of loyalty that connects the initiate directly to the imam. Three distinct rituals, yet one identical purpose, a formal, irreversible, and transformative entry into a new state of being.
The second pillar is what we will term the veil of secrecy. Once an individual has passed through the gate of initiation, the knowledge contained within the group is meticulously protected. This secrecy serves a crucial dual purpose. First, it safeguards the group's esoteric teachings from a profane outside world. And second, it deepens the bond between the initiated members, who now share in a body of protected, privileged knowledge. Of course, the motivations for this secrecy vary. For Freemasons, katumiyet, or a disciplined silence, is a foundational principle of the order itself, a test of character. For Ismailis, the practice of taqiyya, the prudent concealment of one's true faith, was born from a long and brutal history of persecution. It was quite simply a matter of survival. And for the Cerrahis, secrecy is less about hiding from a threat and more about preserving the profound inner meaning of their spiritual practices from those who are not yet prepared to comprehend them. Principle, necessity, and preservation. Different reasons, same structural veil. The third and final pillar of this shared blueprint is the ladder of hierarchy. In these complex systems, complete understanding is not granted all at once. It is conceived as a journey, a step-by-step ascent. Knowledge and the responsibility that comes with it are revealed gradually, incrementally, as the member demonstrates their dedication, their virtue, and their capacity for deeper understanding. And we see this path unfold with remarkable consistency across all three. In the Cerrahis order, one begins as a murid, an aspirant, and progresses through stages to perhaps become a sheikh, a master. In Freemasonry, there is the well-known system of degrees, each representing a new stage of moral and philosophical instruction. And in Ismailism, divine knowledge is understood to flow down a strict spiritual hierarchy, from the imam at the apex to the da'i, or preacher, who then disseminates that knowledge to the community. Each path is a structured, gradual, and hierarchical climb toward enlightenment.
So the structures are, as we've seen, strikingly similar. The blueprint is nearly identical. But if we dare to look beyond the shared architecture, we discover a deep and, I would argue, unbridgeable chasm in their fundamental worldviews. It is here, in the realm of ideology, that these parallel paths diverge completely. The crucial question is this: from whence does truth originate? For the Freemason, the ultimate arbiter is reason. The fraternity's symbols and rituals are not dogma. They are tools intended to stimulate one's own intellect and conscience. For the Cerrahis, human reason is merely a starting point. True knowledge, what they call marafatullah, is a divine gift, an inspiration that illuminates the heart through direct spiritual experience. And for the Ismaili, truth is neither self-generated through reason nor found alone through mystical experience. It is received. It comes through the talim,
the authoritative teaching of the living imam, who is considered the sole infallible guide to inner reality.
And what of their purpose in the world, their mission? Here, too, the divergence is absolute. Freemasonry, while officially apolitical, explicitly aims to improve society by producing better men, who then go out into the world to act according to their enlightened conscience. The Cerraholic order is fundamentally a school of morals and ethics, an apolitical space focused on the inner cultivation of the individual and the promotion of social harmony. Ismailism, however, is unique among the three. It has, at times in its history, been both a spiritual path and a full-fledged state project, as with the Fatimid Empire. The imam can hold both spiritual and temporal authority, leading a global community in both worldly and otherworldly affairs.
Now, lest you think this is a purely abstract academic comparison, I want to draw your attention to a specific moment in history, a moment when these worlds actually intersected and the participants themselves immediately recognized the very parallels we are discussing today.
Consider this remarkable quotation from the year 1868. John P. Brown, an American diplomat stationed in the Ottoman Empire, observed that members of a prominent Sufi order, the Bektashis, viewed themselves as spiritual brethren to the Freemasons. This was not merely an outsider's casual observation. It was a recognition of a deep structural kinship, expressed from within the orders themselves. And this is the Mon who recorded that observation. John P. Brown was not just a diplomat, he was also a high-ranking Freemason. His position in Istanbul afforded him a front-row seat to both of these seemingly disparate worlds. This unique vantage point led him to document these startling similarities, famously and perhaps controversially referring to the Sufi brotherhoods as Oriental Freemasons. So this brings us to the ultimate question. Why? Why do these three traditions, so historically separate and philosophically distinct, share this identical blueprint of initiation, secrecy, and hierarchy? The answer, I propose, lies in a common intellectual and spiritual ancestor, a deep and ancient stream of thought that nourished the roots of all three. That common ancestor is esotericism. At its heart, esotericism is a worldview founded on the belief in a hidden reality, a deeper spiritual truth, or gnosis, that lies concealed behind the veil of the visible material world. This hidden knowledge is not available to all. It cannot be simply learned. It must be accessed through a specific, structured path of initiation, rigorous study, and profound self-transformation. This esoteric worldview rests upon a few key principles. First, the idea of correspondences, the axiom that the entire universe, the macrocosm, is reflected within the human being, the microcosm, as above, so below. Second, the principle of transmission, the absolute conviction that this secret knowledge cannot simply be read in a book. It must be passed down directly from a master to a worthy student. This, you will recognize, is the logic behind the hierarchical ladder. And third, the ultimate goal of transmutation, the alchemical work of transforming the self, of turning the raw base material of the ordinary human into the perfected, refined gold of the spiritual adept. And there we have the solution to our initial mystery. The Cerraholic order, Freemasonry, and Ismailism share a structural blueprint because they are all drawing water from the same deep, ancient well of the esoteric quest. They are, in essence, different cultural expressions, one Islamic, one European, and one Shia, of the same fundamental human drive to uncover hidden knowledge and to achieve self-perfection. So let us conclude by examining that ultimate goal. If the entire elaborate journey is about self-transformation, then what does the destination look like? What is the image of the ideal perfected human being that each of these paths strives to create in its initiates? This final comparison is perhaps the most telling. The Cerraholic path seeks to create the perfect man, the insan kamil, who achieves this exalted state by annihilating the individual self in divine unity. Freemasonry labors to create the ideal man, who uses the tools of reason and virtue to methodically shape his own character, turning a rough stone into a perfect building block for the temple of humanity. And Ismailism guides the true believer on a spiritual migration, a journey from the external, literal meaning of faith to its hidden, esoteric, and inner truth. 3 paths, 3 distinct methods, yet one shared destination, a transformed and perfected human self. Which leaves us with a final, rather profound question. If the blueprint for the spiritual journey is so strikingly universal, yet the ultimate truth discovered at the end of that journey is so profoundly different, what does that reveal about our universal human search for meaning? Does the path we walk inevitably shape the destination we reach,
Or do we simply use these ancient blueprints to construct a home for the truth we were already seeking? Deval medijek, visit us Lane, Litfrin kanalımıza beğenin ve abone olun.